This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my idol. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AEW Dynamite review show here on the unofficial WWE podcast. Today is Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, and we are talking about last night's Dynamite where, yes, Cody Rhodes pinned Andrade on fire. We are going to get into that wild main event and everything else that went on in this show right after this.
Give you cowboy Sammy.
I've always been the baddest on the block.
I came to AEW to dominate.
Come on, Jeff Perry. Nobody is gonna take this away from me. This is mine once again.
All right, everybody, I hope you've all had a great past couple of weeks, actually. It's been a while since we've been back on here. I got back on here for like a week, and then life decided to just kick me in the butt once again. If you follow me on the Twitter, I won't bore you for too long, but yeah, we had the dog, I call him the dog, our dog, who, had to have some surgery, had some cancer. Hopefully is all gone. We'll see the results a little bit later, but he looks like he's doing pretty well, and I want to thank you guys again for all the well wishes. And then after that, some more animal stuff. We'll just leave it at that. Some more sad animal stuff. So, with all that being said, though, I'm back. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be here in the sandbox with you guys again. My brakes are broken. I'm driving not my car. I gotta go to a place I don't really like tonight. I got a whole bunch of stuff going on in real world stuff that I gotta find a new job. All of this stuff I don't want to look at any of that right now. I just want to be in the sandbox with you guys and talk about last night's Dynamite. Because there was a lot of fun stuff to talk about, but there was also a lot of there wasn't a lot of meaning, I think, behind a lot of the stuff we were watching last night, and that might not be the right word, meaning. There wasn't a lot of depth. We'll use that. There was not a lot of depth to a lot of what we watched last night. However, like I said, though, still definitely entertaining and a bunch of stuff to get into. So we're gonna start at the top of the card, but I do want to give a quick shout out to none other than State of Crisis over here, filling in for me back to back, mostly on late notice. Like, can't thank him enough. It has been so helpful to have somebody on the show, of course, because turns out, guys, AEW Dynamite, there are a lot of people watching it now. It definitely grown in the views. Rampage as well. Rampage has not been doing that well in the ratings from what I've seen, but you got a 10 o'clock slot at Friday night, so I guess that makes a little bit more sense. Anyways, we are not here to talk about ratings. I'm going down a wormhole that I don't want to go down right now. I want to talk about last night's Dynamite and the opening match, which was Bryan Danielson versus Allen 5 Angels. And this was a quick little match. Obviously, we had Hangman Page on commentary to supposedly fill the spot of JR. I was kind of hoping he was going to be on there for the whole show. I don't know why I had that thought, and we had that be a theme throughout the night. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, I'm sure, too. I like when Taz was there, but I thought a lot of the other people didn't really. I mean, MJ, it worked and it didn't work. This, to me, Hangman Page came off as just like the same as he always comes off. Great, humble, nice guy, polite, right? Cowboy, you know what? Just came off very well until we get to the aftermatch. But the match itself, I mean, it was quick, and I like the story that was being told that Bryan Danielson is obviously the better wrestler, the more experienced wrestler. However, when he got a little bit cocky and got too focused on just like kicking this guy's head in, Alan Angels almost got that. Like, I love that backslide near fall. That was really good. I bid on that, and I'm sure a lot of other people did as well. And Alan Angels is super talented. A super talented guy. It's super cool that he graduated high school in that building, too, if you guys watch The Road to. And I think they also mentioned it on Dynamite last night. But it was so really enjoyable to see more of Alan Angels. I actually enjoyed this match more than I enjoyed the last Kenny Omega match. I thought this match did not outstay its welcome, and it was just probably one of the best matches on the show, for sure. Again, that depends on what you're grading it on, but I think story being told, at least, yes, probably one of the best matches of the show. Just the actual match itself, because the aftermatch, right? Obviously, Bryan Danielson getting the win, really hitting him with the knee, knocking him out, then kicking his head in for a while, and then giving him a knee bar. Really just a sick, you-know-what. And obviously taunting Hangman Page and then getting the microphone. They start going back and forth. Well, really not back and forth because Hangman Page doesn't say anything. But as soon as he calls him a coward, Hangman Page gets up, goes to the ramp. However, then we get John Silver come out, and John Silver says, Hangman Page. Apparently, all of a sudden, these two guys are not allowed to touch each other. That was not mentioned until that moment, which I thought was kind of silly. But John Silver goes into the ring, tries to fight Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson sneaks out of the ring, basically says that he's too good for it, has a quick face-to-face with Hangman Page, and then walks off. And the only thing that I'll say about this, guys, is, like, I this feels like the last couple weeks. Like, felt super unnecessary. I think you could have just kind of... This just is getting really repetitive. Like, if they're not going to put a new spin on it, then why am I... This just... Like, Dynamite is a 2-hour show. You've got a huge roster. You got a bunch of stories you could be telling. Don't waste time with just repeating the same stuff that happened last week. I don't have a brain the size of a pea. I can handle it. So yeah, this after the match stuff was unnecessary for me, but the match itself I thought was good. A lot of energy, just exactly kind of what an opening match needs to be. I would not, put this in the records of some of the best opening matches in Dynamite history, but it definitely was energetic. Definitely, Alan Angels is great in these not glorified squashes. They're more than that, but we all know who's coming out on the other end, the victor, and that is going to be a theme throughout this match, throughout this night. Speaking of which, the next match on the card we had was CM Punk versus Lee Moriarty. And Lee Moriarty got a really dull reaction in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was really upsetting, honestly. I thought, towards the end of the match, they definitely got the crowd into it a little bit, but I don't know, this crowd just didn't, and I never want to blame the crowd. Sometimes I want to say, like, it's how well the story is being told, all that stuff, but you also just don't know. I don't know, it seemed like the other times we saw Lee Moriarty, like the last time we saw him on Dynamite, he got a way better reaction than he did here, so I was just surprised. But I thought this match felt like it was 20 minutes long, and I don't think it even hit the 10-minute mark, which is not a good sign, because CM Punk's run so far has been good, so I'll definitely, you're not going to hit the mark every single time. Same with Bryan Danielson today. On this show, I thought Bryan Danielson's match with Alan Angels was good, but it wasn't, incredible. I thought the match with Evil Uno was even better, actually. And this is just how I felt about CM Punk as well. I thought the match with Lee Moriarty was... The problem with it was it looked so scripted. And I think that's the issue we run into, where when they had that little sequence back and forth with the pinfalls, you could see CM Punk, over helping Lee, if that makes any sense. He was already transitioning before Lee was already doing the next spot. It just looked so, it didn't look in rhythm. It looked scripted. It looked like they were practicing a wrestling match rather than actually having a wrestling match. And it didn't have a fight feeling to it. The first match had a fight feeling. These two guys were trying to fight to win. This more felt like they were performing. And that's never what you want. So it took me out of the moment, absolutely. I will say the end of the match was really great as well. And MJF on commentary, also a great thing to have no matter what. MJF really putting down CM Punk. And I love this idea that MJF is only will wrestle when he absolutely has to. And then he's like, whatting on some guy like Lee Moriarty, who's wrestling every other week on Dark. So this match was not for me. This was probably one of my least favorite matches of the night. In fact, like I said, it felt like a 20-minute match, and I think it was only 8 minutes, something like that. The finish, though, I did enjoy, and it definitely elevated the match as a whole. And really, that's the most important part, right? You leave with your lasting memory is usually the finish of the match. And so I thought this, that they got me on the near fall, and then the GTS was a great spot, and Lee Moriarty sold it beautifully. I really think this one was kind of on CM Punk, which is okay. And like I said, you're not going to hit every single time. And if you have a match that isn't, incredible, you move on, dust yourself off, and the next match is hopefully better. I hope they pick better opponents than QT Marshall. I thought last week's match I know you guys didn't get my thoughts on that. I thought last week's match went way too long. It should have been a squash match. And it was, QT Marshall does not need to be getting that much offense in against CM Punk. I'm sorry. Lee Moriarty, I understand why they would do that, but it didn't look good. It looked like CM Punk was fighting out from underneath Lee Moriarty, and that's just not the vibe you want. And I think the length of the match, even 8 minutes or whatever, allowed this to kind of get out of hand in those terms. So I did not enjoy this. I got really bored during this, and I never thought I'd be saying I'd be bored during a CM Punk match here in 2021, but I think that's just what comes along with being spoiled. So after the match, we had a back and forth with MJF and CM Punk, another back and forth. And guys, before we get into this one, last week's was so chef's kiss, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. Again, the Miz comment. There's something about the Miz that really gets CM Punk. If you guys haven't noticed that, I find that so funny. I think he's still upset about that main event of WrestleMania. There's something going on, but he does not like the Miz. And I'm like a Miz apologist, so I really liked the comparison, and I really liked a lot of lines from last week. This week, I didn't like it as much. I thought MJF was really aggressive on commentary already, and I thought the Britt Baker line was okay if it's okay because it's MJF in a way, but it would have been more okay if this company didn't show misogynistic patterns already as it is, and book its women's division with this minimal amount of effort that it already does. If Britt Baker and the entire women's division had a little bit more oomph behind it, and this entire company didn't show a pattern of, like I said, misogynistic favoritism, all of that, I think it would have landed a little bit better. This just kind of felt grabby and what the real core beliefs are in the back. And not to mention, the really bad part about it was afterwards you had this interview with Britt Baker, obviously pre-taped, where she doesn't say anything about it. She doesn't even get a chance to have any kind of rebuttal about it. So, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world, and it felt grabby. It felt grabby and it felt unnecessary. I think it would have landed better if this company actually put effort into its women's division. So we will talk about that later on, actually, and I really did enjoy the match that went down later on. So tonight was a win for Dynamite's women's division in ring, at least. We'll put it that way. MJF threatened to kill CM Punk's dog. I felt this whole little interaction at the end, too, kind of got awkward. Wardlow obviously coming out and intervening between the two of them. Similar to the Hangman Page, Bryan Danielson stuff, this didn't make me want this anymore. I almost feel less is more in this feud, and I didn't need this back and forth at the end of it. I just didn't. I think you should have let last week just sit and settle, and then have a week in between. If they're going all the way to Revolution with this, we got time. And so I don't know. I assume maybe they're not going to go all the way to Revolution. Maybe it happens at Winter is Coming, but they probably would have announced it by now. I don't know, guys. I just think I think you could have let this breathe a little bit longer. And you already had MJF on commentary, so I don't know why they needed to do any more than that. But like I said, we had that little segment with Britt Baker and Reba, and Jamie Hayter backstage. And Tony Schiavone, obviously. Can't forget about Tony Schiavone. And I thought the I am enjoying the cracks that are being formed between Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker. My question for you guys is, does Jamie Hayter turn on Britt Baker, or does Britt Baker turn on Jamie Hayter? And you can, when I tweet this out, you can reply to it in the tweet. You can send me a message. You can do whatever. I'd really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that. You know, nobody takes a crossbody better than Jamie Hayter, and I'm ready to see her match against Thunder Rosa. I'm excited for that. I think that has a lot of potential for sure. I know she's still green, but she's got it, guys. Whatever it is, I think Jamie Hayter has it. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think that'll be really exciting. After this, and in between the Wardlow match, we had this really weird thing with Adam Cole, and someone please explain this to me, because I have yet to, no one seems to be able to make sense of it. Alright, so Adam Cole comes out to go on commentary. For what? For Wardlow's squash match? I don't know. It didn't seem to make sense. And then Orange Cassidy comes and follows him out there. I don't know why. Thinking that the Young Bucks and nobody else would like really, Orange Cassidy is that stupid. He thinks like, oh, he got one up on Adam Cole. Like Adam Cole's not gonna have some kind of backup. And then essentially they do a little cutesy back and forth stuff. But Orange Cassidy gets his head kicked in. And then they just leave. Then they just leave. Like, Adam Cole is never on commentary. Like, what was that? This was the worst use of television time on AEW Dynamite in a long time. Everything doesn't need 15 angles. This is a problem I've been having with Dynamite lately, guys. And I don't know if any of you feel this way. Like, I think they could just book a match to book a match sometimes. Like, it doesn't need to always have some backstage like it doesn't always need to be this sports entertainment-y stuff backstage or whatever. Like, you can just have, like, Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy because it's Adam Cole versus Orange Cassidy. And that's really cool. And maybe you don't give away that match. But you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't always need to be this thing. Like, you could have Lee Moriarty versus Adam Cole. Like, there's a match, like, I don't know, just without, like, all the fluff and angles. And, oh my god, it's, like, too much. They literally just did the backstage interview thing, but they did it on commentary or by the commentary table. For no, like, why was Adam Cole out there? And then why would Orange Cassidy be out there? It made no sense. So I want to wipe this from my memory, and I'm going to do just that and move on to the Wardlow squash match because that was awesome. That was just, I don't even know what the guy's name was. I apologize. Wardlow just powerbombed the crap out of this guy, pinned him. You know, crowd chanting one more time. Wardlow obliges. This is like when Wardlow gets in the ring by himself, he's like a baby face, kind of. Again, he beats the crap out of people, so I don't know how much of a baby face that is, but, like, he, like, obliges with the crowd, and I love it. And then Shawn Spears, the dime piece that Shawn Spears is, just comes in after the match, just, like, whacking the guy with a steel chair for no reason. Like, what an absolute you-know-what. This was probably my favorite part of the show, besides the match we're going to talk about later on. This was so good. I just needed a little bit of, like, I don't mean to call it comedic relief because this poor guy's like back and body was just getting mauled by these two guys. But I've been loving what Shawn Spears is doing, really leaning into just being like a doofus, for lack of a better word. And I'm really enjoying the dynamic between Wardlow and Shawn Spears. So not much to complain about here, guys. This was, like I said, a highlight of the night for me. So, and yep, as I'm looking it up now, it was 4 consecutive power bombs, and then Shawn Spears just being Shawn Spears, wailing the poor guy with the chair. The next match, though, guys, was Darby Allin and Sting versus the Gun Club. And can we talk about how cool Sting and Darby Allin's face paint looked? Honestly, again, for a match versus the Gun Club, they showed up and showed out. And it really felt like the one time of the night the crowd really popped was for Sting. You know, obviously Atlanta and Sting. I'm young, but I'm old enough to know the significance of that. And it was really, like, you kind of can't not get behind that kind of atmosphere. You know, when the crowd is so into something, it's like that is why these AEW crowds have been so incredible. And if you get a chance, guys, like, even if you're getting whatever kind of seats, you know, like, get yourself to a Dynamite show, get yourself to really, they tape all of it at once, but, like, get yourself to an AEW show, whether it's a pay-per-view or Dynamite or whatever. They tape Rampage as well, Dark Elevation, all that stuff, because the atmosphere is just, Ashley, you know, told me a bunch of times beforehand. Ashley Mann, the co-host on this show, or the co-host who comes on the show a bunch, told me, you know, plenty of times how amazing it was and how cool the vibe was and how fun it was. And I kind of, you know, my only experience with some WWE shows. So I really didn't know what to compare it to. And honestly, guys, it is no comparison. Like, it is so much fun. So I really, really recommend that you guys go. If a AEW taping comes into your town, do your best to try to get yourself there, because it's just a blast. It's just a really good time. And that's what these guys in Atlanta seem to be having, obviously, during the Sting, Darby Allin, and Gun Club match. Really, the two highlights of this match were Sting, being Sting, obviously, and hitting the Scorpion Deathlock and getting the pin, and obviously the hot tag to Sting. But it was also Darby Allin, literally, guys, like as if somebody just took a rocket, put him in it, and shot him out of it twice. He bounced off Billy Gunn. Bounced off him. It was so, like, literally, no one should ever do a suicide dive ever again, in comparison to what Darby Allin does. He literally takes the name, I'm saying literally a lot, it's my inner white girl, guys, bear with me. He literally takes the name suicide dive to heart. That guy shoots himself out at people. No one should do a tope suicide dive, no one should do a dive again after watching Darby Allin do it, man. It is like nothing else. Jamie Hayter takes a crossbody equivalent, like, is the equivalent to Darby Allin doing a suicide dive. The two just, it's an art form that nobody else seems to be able to do. And the first one he did too, he landed on his head, and my fiance was like, "Oh my God, is he okay?" I was like, "This guy must do some kinds of yoga and whatever, just to, like, make his body limp, because the way he lands sometimes, Darby Allin is such a dime a dozen. I mean, I can't think of another wrestler that just is able to do the stuff Darby Allin does. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Hardy gets a lot of comparisons, obviously, but, like, Jeff Hardy never had the speed that Darby Allin does. Obviously, you know, their size being different, but still, Darby Allin is just like he's like Leo Rush and Jeff Hardy combined. I think that's the best comparison I can make. So, this was another fun match, but I mean, let's think about it, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4 matches in a row. We all knew who was going to win each one of those matches, and, like, maybe 1 or 2 of those on a Dynamite card is okay, but for every single match, it got a little bit repetitive. And I don't think anybody thought the Gun Club was going to beat Sting and Darby Allin in Atlanta, Georgia. So, next up we had the TBS Championship Tournament match and the quarterfinal match. And my favorite match of the night, Ruby Soho versus Chris Statlander. And I don't think on a lot of other nights this probably would have been my favorite match. However, we need to put some goddamn respect. I don't know why I went a little bit southern there, but apparently I did. We need to put some goddamn respect on Chris Statlander's name, because this woman came back from this injury and she is like a different human being. I don't know what the heck she did. I don't know what tactic I would say I would like to know and then try them, but I wouldn't, because I probably wouldn't do that, because I still can't touch my toes. I'm not an athletic person, but whatever she did, enough about me and my toes, whatever she did worked, because she came back and her matches have been better than ever. Obviously, you know, that comes with time, but I mean, I thought she was the breakout star in this match. I think she gave Ruby Soho, honestly, her first, like, outstanding match. And yes, guys, we got to talk about it. It's the elephant in the room. It is the bright orange hair color elephant in the room. Ruby Soho did the NXT eyes, the WWE eyes, and really it's the NXT eyes. The Ruby Soho looked like she just found out the sex of her baby. That's the amount of probably more than that. I don't know. I can't think of a better. Like, she looked like she literally just watched somebody get it. She looked like Chris Statlander was a real alien, and they just met for the first time. That was the amount of shock on her face, and it was so unnecessary. Don't get me wrong. That Poison Rana was incredible. Incredible. She looked awesome. Like, really awesome. And a lot of this match was really awesome. I thought this was one of the most fluid women's matches I've seen in AEW history. Super fluid. And Was it 5 stars? No, but to me, I was entertained from start to finish, and I was blown away by the talent of these two women. And it's really cool to watch someone's progression. And like I said, whatever the hell Chris Statlander did, she should share it and give it around, because a lot of these women could probably use it. But the shocked face was not it. It was not it. It definitely was unnecessary. And I thought this roll-up was actually really good too. Notice Chris Statlander struggled, or appeared to struggle, to get out of the roll-up. That's all it takes to make a roll-up look a lot better. Guys, all it takes to make a roll-up look a lot better. And if you compare those roll-ups, that roll-up, to the roll-ups from the Lee Moriarty and CM Punk match, there's no comparison. So I really like this match. Again, the Poison Runner was awesome. The Blue Thunder Bomb looked awesome. Just the back and forth. It wasn't like there was just one heat segment. And I felt like most of this match, if not all of it, took place in the ring. Which is such a lost art nowadays, too. I always feel like they got to go outside, or go to the outside. Then again, don't take any of my observations to heart that much, guys, because I literally just noticed Ruby Soho had tattoos on her neck. I don't know why I don't know why I just noticed that, or why it was even important, but I did. So really, I think Chris Statlander's the MVP. I'm like, strap this woman up. Not really, not yet. It's not her time. But I think Chris Statlander's got an incredible career behind her. God. Chris Statlander has an incredible career in front of her, and it's my job to know everybody's ages, guys. So Chris Statlander is 26 years old. This woman is 3 years older than me and has more talent in her pinky than I will have in my entire life. So really, she stood out to me in this match as the MVP, but obviously Ruby Soho advances. There was a quick little beatdown after the match, but I don't really care to get into it because it was unnecessary. I thought this was just really solid, and you know what? I've heard some people not so high on it as much as I was, but you know what? F*** off. I was fucking entertained as hell. I was really entertained by this match, and that's all that really matters. So, and speaking of which, and you know what? That's not all that really matters, because I'm literally about to contradict myself. I was entertained by that match, and a good story was told. Again, the shocked face was too much, but I was entertained by that match, and they did a really good job of building it up as well. There was a story going into the match. The next match, though, was the main event, and it was Andrade versus Cody Rhodes in the Atlanta Street Fight. Clearly, the rules of the Atlanta Street Fight different from a Chicago Street Fight, a Philadelphia Street Fight. It was an Atlanta Street Fight. I don't need to explain what the different rules were. I know you all know it. We all got that. However, yeah, this is the match there was fire. There was steel step spots. There was a really awesome bump from Andrade with the steel chair, with the double knees in the face of Cody Rhodes. There was an awesome split-legged moonsault on the steel chair onto Cody Rhodes. And then there was Cody Rhodes pulling out a a kendo stick, then putting it back, and then a sledgehammer. Oh, look at me, I'm Triple H, and putting it back. No, I'm not. Then pulling out a golden shovel, like, oh, look at me, I'm John Cena, or whatever the metaphor was supposed to be, guys. I don't know. I don't care at this point. This was like a lot of just really dangerous, intense, painful, terrible looking spots that these guys did. And this match was good, don't get me wrong. This match would have been really good if there was a story behind it, even, maybe. It was an incredible spot where Andrade jumps over the ring post onto Cody Rhodes on the outside. Andrade's assistant apparently has a better body than half the AEW roster, so that was pretty interesting to find out. However, this was so Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes just feels like... We all saw this stuff on the back of him, right? Apparently that was flame retardant stuff or whatever. To me, I literally just thought it was desperation oozing out of his skin, because that's all this match felt like to me. It was just a grabby, desperate attempt because he's getting booed. What point did this feud between Andrade and Cody Rhodes become so, tense and crazy and whatever? What is it? This isn't even a feud. What? Even on Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes would not warrant this. The only match that I think that would warrant a feud like this is maybe the MJF Cody Rhodes feud. I can't think of any. I'm thinking of Cody Rhodes feuds, by the way, not just in general. Considering we did have an exploding barbed wire death match, but Since when did they need like a flaming table back spot off the turnbuckle? You guys know what I'm trying to say. When did this feud get to that point? Did I miss something? Because apparently I did. Because Cody Rhodes apparently thinks like this was a good idea. Not to mention, not just the table spot, right, guys? But like, these guys took a lot of really awful bumps. For what, though? For what purpose? Yes, I was like fairly entertained because it's violence and I watch wrestling, so I clearly like some kind of violence. But this is the stories company, right? AEW claims to be the company that tells stories. Where is the story? And you know, Cody Rhodes, yes, he's got a lot of people talking about him, and I'm sure he's really proud of himself. I'm sure Brandy Rhodes is really happy too. She's got a lot of people talking about her. Kind of. I don't know if she was involved in it. But that's not the point of this. It's like, to me, it's the equivalent of Michael Cole on commentary saying, well, you know, when we chant John Cena sucks, let's go Cena, John Cena sucks, or let's go Cena, Cena sucks. Michael Cole chants, well, they're making noise. Like, nobody is more polarizing than John Cena. Like, no, that's not the point. That is not the point of this. That doesn't tell a story. Cody Rhodes is not telling a story here. He's being grabby for pops because he's getting booed, and he really just looks desperate. So, again, I am really having a lot of trust that maybe this plays out into something better, but I can't see it doing that, and I don't know about any of you. I don't know where this is supposed to be going. I maybe, I don't know if I just had my throat just had a quick seizure there, guys. My bad. I don't know. I don't know where this is supposed to go, but I'm not enjoying it. I'm like, yes, I am intrigued to see what reaction Cody gets in all these stadiums, but when is that going to end? Because it's just going to be boos. In his hometown, he got a quote-unquote mixed reaction, but really, there were a lot of boos. And I think the only reason there were cheers is because he put himself in a match where he can pull out kendo sticks and stuff and get the pops that he wanted. Just feels desperate to me, guys. It just felt desperate to me. However, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this match and the show as a whole, especially that women's match, too. I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts on that because I really liked it. I thought it was a good match, and I've heard a lot of people say otherwise, so, you know, f*** them. No, I'm kidding. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, obviously. All of wrestling is subjective, and that's why I'm always curious to hear your guys' thoughts. So reply to the tweet when I tweet this out on the Twitter with your thoughts, or just message me. You know, I have an email, I think, that's like mimi.realwwepodcast@gmail.com. I think that's what it is. Yeah, shoot me an email there, tweet me, message me on Twitter, all that stuff. I love talking about all this stuff with you guys, and I want to hear your thoughts, because I didn't think this was like a fine show, but man, are they spinning their wheels the last couple weeks, it feels like. So, Rampage as well. Maybe I'm thinking about not last Rampage, but the Rampage beforehand. Last week's Rampage was really good, actually. And, you know, AEW does continue to manage to do that one thing, you know, a week that's, like, super noteworthy, you know, whether it was the MJF CM Punk stuff or this was the Flaming Table or whatever, but, like, this one I don't feel like was on the good side of things. I just felt like it was grabby and desperate, and, like, AEW's getting to be a little bit too much with all this stuff, so nonetheless, guys, that is all from me this week. I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you guys enjoyed Dynamite, at least more than me, if not the same amount as me, because I definitely, like I said, needed a little bit of a sandbox moment. And I know we're a little bit on the shorter side on this review, but again, like I said, life, guys, somehow I'm only working one job out of the two jobs I was working, but somehow life has gotten busier. So explain that to me. But a lot going on, and again, I want to thank you all for your wonderful well wishes. Our dog has got one less toe, but he is rocking on, and that's, again, probably thanks to you guys, your prayers and well wishes, like I said. So thanks again, and like I said, I hope you all have a great week. Thank you to State of Crisis again for coming on the show. We'll have to have him on here, and we will do a show together for sure. And I will be back next week, unless, like, I don't know, my phone and my car blow up or the next thing happens that could possibly happen. But I am looking forward to Dynamite next week. I'm looking forward to Rampage. Yes, I know they took Rey Fenix away from me. Last thing I wanted to mention, actually, before we close out here. Last thing. That Chris Jericho backstage segment. First of all, again, another beatdown segment backstage. I just expect it at this point. I was blown away that they had Tony Nese cut a promo and nobody came in and attacked him. I know it wasn't an interview, but still. Another interview segment. Chris Jericho was, like, in England, I think. So, that felt that made me feel like my intelligence was treated with little respect there. So I just want to throw that out there, guys. Again, this is the company that I expect better from, so I'm going to call them out on their stuff. If you guys didn't know that, yeah, Chris Jericho was in England. So it was clearly pre-taped, and he's made it publicly known that he was in England. So I don't really understand what that was about. And another beatdown segment. And not to mention, Chris Jericho's getting his little grubby paws on Eddie Kingston. I'm not even going to go into that right now. Because I said a lot of negative stuff, I feel like, about Dynamite this week, and you guys know I don't care about being too negative, because, f*** you, Logan Meyer, 23. But I do feel like I want to end this on a positive note, and the positive note is that I did enjoy Dynamite as a whole, as an entertainment factor, but like I said, it really did lack depth. But there was a flaming table spot, and a man pinned another man while he was on fire. So I can sit here and talk to you guys about all the stuff underneath it, but on a service level, the show was fun. So I'm happy to be here back with you guys, and I'm looking forward to next week. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap this up, put a little bow on it, and I will talk to you guys next week. You can also subscribe on Patreon for $1 a month, or on iTunes for $2.99 a month. Get all these shows ad-free. Check it out if you have not already. It is where it's at. All right, I'll talk to you guys next time.